hardest part of filmmaking isn't the shoot, it's opening the laptop and getting started. Every filmmaker knows this feeling. You've got the time and you've got the gear and you've got a project that needs work and you're doing everything except that. Scrolling, watching other people's films and telling yourself that it's all research. But it's not really, is it? Now, here's the thing that people don't say about procrastination. It's not about being lazy or, not having good time management. It's actually fear, the fear of sitting down, doing the work, spending all that time on a project and then finishing it and not getting the result that you hoped for, or the audience reception is not as good as you had hoped, or just not achieving the goal that you set out to do. So us filmmakers and creatives, we all struggle with the same issue, and it's procrastination. And at the end of this video, I have 3 useful tips for you to apply that should hopefully help mitigate or fix procrastination for you. So do stick around to the end of the video so you make sure you do not miss those 3 tips, because they, honestly, if you apply them, they really will help you. Fear of failure, feeling overwhelmed, waiting for the correct gear, it's all ways of just avoiding that moment. But the thing is though, film is very personal, more than most creative work is. So when that script doesn't land or the edit feels wrong, it doesn't just feel like the project's failed, it feels like you failed. And so you delay, you wait until you feel like you're ready and more confident, but that feeling never comes on its own. Now, in my opinion, the only way to get through this is just to start badly. It doesn't need to be perfect. The first attempt just needs to happen. Write that first scene as badly as you can, because the next draft will then be an improvement. Because you can fix bad work, but you can't fix nothing. Okay, so the next one is more specific to filmmakers, and it's one that I'm certain a lot of you guys are guilty of. I certainly am. And it's when you wait until you have the right gear, the right lens, the right setup for that specific film, and you put it off and you tell yourself, oh, I can't do it until I have this gear, which just isn't really true. Now, I know it's going to sound very cliche, but it's very true. The most important thing to do is to just start with the stuff you have, your phone, no matter what it is, just start making it. The most important films ever made were created with the gear that they had. They didn't wait around for, the perfect camera to come out, the perfect lens. They just started making it. And I think the second reason why us filmmakers procrastinate is that the task can feel so huge to even start that you just end up putting it off. I'm definitely guilty of this for sure. The whole just gonna edit the film, that isn't a task. That's a enormous goal. And so of course you're gonna, avoid it and push it off and, try to do something else that seems easier and is gonna give you more gratification. And, the fix is so stupidly simple, yet a lot of us don't ever do it. And I'll let you guys know what the fixes are at the end, so stay tuned. So you're probably listening to this going, okay, Hugo, yeah, we've heard you yap, but how can I actually do these things? So I found that there are 3 things that can genuinely help. So the first one is action before motivation. You can't just sit around waiting for the motivation to come. It's not really how it works. That motivation will come to you once you've started and once you've got into the groove of it and you've got the momentum pulling you forward and you start to make progress, you'll then gain that momentum to keep you going forward and keep on working. But starting can be super tough. It can feel massive and daunting and like such a big task, which is why number 2 is really helpful. And number 2 is breaking those huge tasks that feel impossible to even begin, and breaking them down into small, achievable goals. So instead of thinking, I'm going to edit this film today, oh, that's such a big task, what you can do is just break it down into the first few steps. So opening the editing software, putting your files in and organizing them into subfolders. And then once you've started doing that, you can then move on to the next task of laying the clips into the timeline. And what you'll find is once you've started this small little tasks, you'll then get the momentum and the motivation that we spoke about earlier to keep you going forward. It's all good and well saying that you're going to write this new script. but then you never even start because the task feels almost impossible. You put it off, you think, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. That day it never comes because it's a huge task. Writing a script is massive. So just start small and just start badly. You know, you don't have to be perfect on the first try, and you don't have to do the whole huge chunk in one go. Just start small and you'll gain that momentum and you'll progress further and faster. And that way you'll actually be able to get the work done. Okay, so the third and final thing I have is to separate your creative work from the logistical work. You know, so don't try and write your emails in the same session as trying to do a storyboard or write your script, because that just gets all messy and you need to keep it clean. You know, you need to keep those lines of work clean and separate so that you don't get the decision fatigue, which is definitely a very, very real thing. You know, when you're trying to do too many things at once and trying to use separate sides of your mind, it's just never going to work well, and it's always just going to clash, and you'll then end up thinking the task is too big and then putting it off for later. Now, I know that was a lot for one video, but I'll just leave you with this one last thing. The film that you don't finish is the film that no one sees. It's that simple. That's it.